than you are in Australia right now.
You're talking NBA basketball. You're talking great teams. You're talking great individual players.
Takes it off, and there's number 23, and of course Johnny goes nuts.
So I'll get goosebumps thinking about it now.
I just tried to go out there and play my game.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Adam. I don't like anybody. I'm not a people person.
Strand, you make the pass, yes. Christian, can you catch the ball? Yes.
All the stars were aligned and all the muscles fired at the right time, and I was able to get off the ground and throw one down.
I was saving that as a surprise for you.
And now, introducing your host for In All Airness, Adam Ryan.
Welcome to episode 6. Thanks for joining me. Go to inallairness.com for show notes and plenty more features. The social hub for the podcast is facebook.com/inallairness. If you haven't already, please like the page and join the growing community of fans. Add the podcast to your RSS feed or iTunes so you never miss another show. It's also available on Stitcher, BlackBerry, Player FM, TuneIn Radio, and numerous other podcatchers. I love hearing from listeners. On either site, you can send voicemail comments or questions. With your permission, I'd love to include your feedback on future episodes. You can follow me on Twitter @inallairness. My guest today sits 7th place all-time in NBA games played. Had 8 seasons where he played every regular season game, and a further 6 seasons playing 80 or 81 games. He played in 2 NBA finals, was named the NBA's Sixth Man of the Year in 1993, and earned All-Star status in 1994. He's an 18-year NBA veteran. Cliff Robinson, thanks for joining me.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having the patience to continue trying to get me on.
No, I really appreciate it. Not a problem at all. Before we get into your great career, overnight, 2 interesting NBA stories have emerged. First, Carmelo Anthony has been suspended for 1 game for his role in Busgate, attempting to confront KG following the Knicks loss the other night. What's your take on this, having played against both these guys?
To be honest, I think, KG has been a great competitor over his career. The hard work and that he's put in throughout his career, he's a great competitor. He's put in great numbers. He's put up great numbers over his outstanding career. But I'm a firm believer in that. I mean, if you're going to play the game, play the game. Leave someone's personal life out of it. Now, I don't know what actually took place, but from reports that I'm hearing is that he referred to Carmelo's wife, and to me, anybody's going to take offense to that. Anybody should stand up for their wife's and defend her honor and not stand for any wisecracks while you're playing a game of basketball. Like I said, I don't know what actually was said, but the reports are saying that he said something, that was in reference to Carmelo's wife, and to me, I think that's just hitting a little below the line.
Definitely, and he got a 1-game suspension, so hopefully that'll be served quickly and he'll be back into his play for the Knicks. Now, the next thing I wanted to ask you about was the Kings franchise, which may be on the move, with their owners, the Maloof brothers, possibly selling the team to an investor who has a deal to build an arena in Seattle, hoping to lure back an NBA team. So this might be the Sonics 2.0. What's your early reaction to this, Cliff, and do you think that's a good thing for the NBA?
I think it's a great thing for the NBA because, Seattle's a great sports town. Playing in Portland for 8 years, and then, primarily playing most of my career on the West Coast. Seattle was always one of my favorite stops. So, to see the team leave, after establishing so many friends up there, and whether it be on the court, people that were at the game, giving me a hard time, or friends that I know that just live up there.
Yeah.
It was a disappointing day for me, for all NBA fans to see such a historic franchise leave a place where basketball has been cherished for so long.
Yeah, so it should be a great thing for the league.
Oh yeah, definitely. It'll be a great thing to see those guys come back and see a team come back into that area and get the fans excited about the whole NBA experience again.
Definitely. Now, you played college basketball at the University of Connecticut from 1985-86 through to your senior year in 1988-89. From your sophomore year, your Huskies were led by renowned coach Jim Calhoun. Your per-game production would increase significantly from therein. Can you discuss your experiences playing college basketball and your relationship with Coach Calhoun?
Well, growing up in Buffalo, New York, anybody who was involved in basketball during the early '80s, the Big East was, a conference that was to be reckoned with. I mean, they had guys such as Patrick Ewing, Chris Mullin, Pearl Washington, Raphael Addison, Earl Kelly. I mean, you can go down the line as the different guys that they had playing in the conference at the time. So if you were in this region of the country, you couldn't help but be attracted to playing in such a conference, because all of those guys were being recognized as being extremely good NBA prospects. So to have an opportunity to play in such a conference was something that appealed to me quite a bit.
Definitely. Now, how was it playing for Coach Calhoun, and what did you think about his coaching style during your college years?
Well, Coach, we have a great relationship to this day. He's someone that I credit, I give a lot of credit to for, pushing me the way he did, expecting the most out of, what I was giving him on the court. I mean, he was very demanding, and, as a player, you're either going to embrace that or you're going to wash out. And, to me, I was determined to, take, what he was giving me and use it to the best of my ability. And, he's produced a lot of NBA players. He's a 3-time national champion over at UConn. He brought a program, to national recognition. When you think basketball, when you think college basketball, when you think nationally recognized programs, you definitely have to put UConn you definitely have to put UConn up there. And you definitely have to put Calhoun as one of the coaches that took a program that was not on the national scene and put it on the national scene.
Yeah, definitely. And you certainly embraced that playing for him, no doubt. Now, this leads us nicely into the 1989 NBA draft. Only 4 players of your draft class would play 1,000 games or more, and those are Glenn Rice, Sean Kemp, Bloody Divac, and yourself. Now, you topped that list with 1,380 games played. You're also atop that list in total points scored at 19,591, ahead of sharpshooter Glenn Rice and also another decorated scorer, Tim Hardaway. Now, those are some mighty impressive numbers, Cliff.
Well, I just tried to go out there and play my game. Mm-hmm. I was very disappointed at where I went in the draft, so I had a lot of determination coming into the NBA to show those who passed me up. I was a player that was very capable of playing in the NBA and playing at a high level.
You were definitely a steal in the draft. I think you were second round pick number 9, just off the top of my head.
Yeah. I think I was like 35 or 36 or something like that. There was a lot of good players, in that draft. I just, I always credit the fact that I got started late playing basketball to, having such a long career. I tell guys, you could easily get bored with something if you start trying to do it too soon. So, for me, I've always credited the fact that my first year of organized basketball was my freshman year in high school, and I mean that was another thing that I think helped me have such a long-standing love for the game. You know, there's always a lot of variables, but if you get started doing something too early, you can fall out of love with it fairly quickly.
That's a great point. Now, you're currently sitting 17th all-time in total NBA minutes played, which is absolutely phenomenal. The nearest active player is Tim Duncan. He's still a further 2,100 minutes behind as of the time we're recording today. So you've got some incredibly impressive numbers.
Well, I appreciate that. Like I said, I've always just gone out and just tried to play my game with a lot of passion, and you know, I was blessed to really stay away from injuries. So I played on a lot of good teams throughout my career. You know, we went to the playoffs. I went to the playoffs 17 out of the 18 years of my career, and I was able to stay away from injuries, which was a blessing.
Yeah, remarkable. Now, we'll talk about the 1990 NBA Finals shortly, but first, in 89-90, that was your rookie season. You came off the bench and played in every game for your Portland Trail Blazers, and you were also Western Conference champions that season. Can you please just talk a little bit about your rookie campaign and how you adjusted to the NBA game?
Well, it really wasn't that hard to make the adjustment because I came in, you know, I was drafted by a team that had, you know, great veteran leadership. You know, every player on that team, you know, was a solid NBA player. You know, from Clyde Drexler to Terry Porter, to Jerome Kersey, Buck Williams, Kevin Duckworth, Wayne Cooper, Danny Young. You know, it was just great veteran leadership on that team. So when I was drafted by Portland, I had no choice but to embrace the fact that I was a young guy and I had to play behind a bunch of guys who were extremely established and extremely professional.
Yeah, it was a great situation for you, and to be surrounded by such veteran leadership and some of those great players you mentioned, it's very good to be around those players.
A lot of guys don't, you know, a lot of guys get drafted into situations where, you know, they come in on a team where there's a lot of young guys. So, you know, for me, it was a blessing to be able to be drafted by a team that, you know, all the guys were veteran players, and they were all professional players. You know, they knew their roles, they played their roles, and you know, they were just consummate professionals.
Used to really enjoy watching the Terry Porter, Buck Williams, Jerome Kersey, those sort of guys. There's some great memories from watching those guys, and obviously yourself playing on that Portland Trail Blazers team. Now, one of the greatest playoff games I ever watched was the 1990 Western Conference semis, where the San Antonio Spurs, who were led by rookie David Robinson, visited Memorial Coliseum to play your Trailblazers in an incredible seventh and deciding game that you eventually won in overtime. What are your memories of that game, Cliff? Can you recall back to that time?
Well, what I remember was being put in a position where I had to go in and be a factor in the game. You know, Kevin Duckworth got hurt. Wayne Cooper was down, so I had to start at center for the first, you know, for the 6 games of that series. And you know, I remember, you know, just trying to go out there and play my hardest because I was playing against arguably one of the greatest centers to ever play the game, and David Robinson.
Definitely.
And I was just trying to go out there and compete. You know, I've always been a player who relished, you know, trying to step up to the challenge against guys who had bigger names than me. So to be put in that position, I was just looking forward to going out there and trying to show that I was at least, if not the type of player he was, but in the same caliber of the type of player that he was.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I forgot to mention, on that Portland Trailblazers team, you also had a very young, well, in terms of NBA years, Drazen Petrovic on the roster as well, and he played a a role in that same game I'm talking about as well.
Well, Johnson was a tremendous player. You know, he was already a highly recognized player coming over from Europe. So when he got to the Blazers, he was just raring to go. You know, when he got his opportunity, he went out there and he performed, and he was the type of guy that was definitely ready to go out there and compete. And you know, to have someone like that on your team, you always, I mean, I've always loved that. You know, somebody who was out there ready to step up and show that he deserved to be out there, and he definitely did that at high levels.
Yeah, he was obviously one of those ones just waiting for the opportunity, and when it presented itself, he was there to play. Now, speaking of the Memorial Coliseum, whilst being one of the smallest capacity-wise, the Portland fans definitely loved their Blazers and supported the team like few other fan bases ever have since. How was it playing in front of that raucous home crowd in Portland?
Rip City.
Yeah.
Rip City. You know, the fact that, Portland had Blazers are the only show in town up until they, got the Major League Soccer team there not too long ago, but it's the biggest show in town, and the fans always historically have gotten behind the Blazers. I don't care if they're winning, I don't care if they're losing. They've always been the type of crowd to, come out there and support their team. And for me, coming from a situation where, we weren't the best in the Big East, to have the opportunity to play in front of a crowd like that where they embraced everything we did, whether we were winning or losing, it was always a great feeling because Portland is immersed in history, when it comes to basketball. They won the championship in '77, so they've always been a city that has been, ready to support their team.
Yeah, sure. Back to the days of Bill Walton and Jack Ramsey. Some great footage exists from those years as well. So, nice insight. Thank you. Now, the 1990 NBA Finals series, it was a lot closer than some people may remember. You lost a close Game 1 at Detroit. You stole home court with a tough overtime win in Game 2, but went back home and the Pistons won the next 3 games. Vinnie Johnson lived up to his nickname of the Microwave. He scored 15 fourth-quarter points in Game 5, including that go-ahead basket with less than a second to go. Can you describe the feeling of playing in your first NBA Finals?
Coming from a program where we won the NIT my junior year, which was a great stepping stone for the University of Connecticut. Mm-hmm. It was a great stepping stone. But to have the opportunity to play in the finals, the NBA Finals, in your rookie year, it's really indescribable. Mm. And to play against a player that I looked up to so much, which was Isaiah Thomas. I thought he was a tremendous player. I thought he was a tremendous competitor. So to have an opportunity to go out and play against those guys in my rookie year, it was kind of like a dream come true. I mean, I'm still friends with some of those guys on that team, to tell you the truth. James Edwards, who played that year, he killed us in that series. He was my best man in my wedding.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so I still have close ties to a lot of those guys on that team. Vinnie Johnson, Dennis Rodman, who I've gone on quite a few tours with over the last 2 years over to Southeast Asia. So it was a dream come true. Even though we lost the series, when you lose something like that, it's always going to be heartbreaking. But to lose it to such a classy group of guys, when I look back on it, I guess, it's not that bad because I have a lot of respect for those guys.
It's great to hear that you've got links to those guys still, even 20 plus years on. And also, I do remember in that series, James Edwards was a killer on the baseline. He made that many baseline jump shots, particularly in games 1 and 2, I can recall, but certainly got the Pistons on their way to that title. Oh,
he killed us. We talk about it all the time. Even in Game 2, where they went to him on the block, he shot his patented fadeaway. I blocked it, but when we had a conversation today, he'll still say I fouled him.
That's great. It's always awesome to have some fantastic memories about it, even though the results didn't go in your favour.
Definitely.
In 1992, your Portland team, led by Clyde Drexler, faced Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, the NBA Finals. Game 1, MJ went off. He scored 39 points, and 35 of those were in the first half. The crowd were already going insane, but when MJ launched arguably that most famous three-point shot he ever made over your outstretched arm, Chicago Stadium's foundations were literally shaking. What are your thoughts about that game, Cliff, and the role that you played and still play to this day in highlights of MJ's career?
You know, to be tied to, such a play during probably the biggest series of the, at the time, the NBA Finals is the biggest thing that you'll play in your NBA career. I mean, I look at it with enjoyment, even though it was a situation where we didn't win the ring, we didn't finish out what we accomplished to get. We didn't win the championship, but to be tied to such a play and such a player, I mean, I don't look at it with animosity. I mean, it was one play in an 18-year career. I've caught a lot of criticism, so to speak, from different different people, because they thought I was the one person that was guarding him for the whole game, which actually wasn't the case. I just happened to switch out on him and contest a shot, which was my job. That's what you do. You contest shots. You don't give guys free shots. But to be tied to that play is not a big deal. I mean, it's an honor, because right now, over the last 3 or 4 years, if you look at the opening to the NBA Finals, they show Michael doing that, and they show me as well. So, that's being a part of NBA history. It doesn't bother me at all.
No, and you were right there in his face as well. He couldn't do much more. I don't think anybody could have stopped him at that stage. And again, as you said, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, because you did your best to close out and block that, but just get it. Yeah, that's all I did was close out, and he made a big three. I mean, he wasn't recognized as being a three-point shooter. That night he was hot, and you got to give a guy like that credit. I mean, he scored over 30,000 points in his NBA career, close to 30. I'm sure somewhere close to that. I mean, he's a six-time NBA champion. I mean, the accolades I can go on and on about the guy's accolades. But to be tied to one play that is recognized by so many people across the globe, how can you be? It's nothing to be to take offense of. For sure, it's great to actually be linked to that, and I'm pleased to hear your thoughts on it, to be honest.
Here's Shrug for three. Yes! Did you see that look? Michael indicating he can't believe it.
Now, unfortunately for Portland, you fell to the Bulls in 6 games. It was your second finals appearance in 3 seasons. Is it possible to even compare the 1992 finals with 1990? Well, the 92 series was a little different because I had a bigger role. Yeah. I had a bigger role, and I thought we were primed to win a championship. So, from that standpoint, I mean, I guess that's the only thing I can say that's different. My rookie season, I was more of a guy who was just along for the ride, and who had an opportunity to get out there and try to make some plays, and was just out there trying to play hard. In 92, that was my 3rd season. I really started, to feel comfortable in the position that I was in. So to lose that series, when, especially after, having the great run that we did to get in the position, it was more disappointing. I can understand. Now, moving on, the 1993 season was a very special one for you. You won the NBA's 6th Man of the Year award. This would probably be considered your breakout year. You started 12 games, yet you averaged 19 points and 7 boards a game. which are super numbers for a sixth man. What changed that season to propel you from being a good contributor to being one of the NBA's best off the bench?
Confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence. I think that's one thing that sets a lot of guys apart. Because when you come into the NBA, you're playing against the best.
Yeah.
Playing against the best college players from each team. You're playing against the best college players across the globe. So, if you don't have confidence and belief in what you're doing, that's how a lot of guys don't last that long. And to me, I was able to, just maintain a high level of confidence and belief in my ability, and I think that's what helped me propel myself into that position.
Sure. From around 1993 onwards, you became a legitimate outside shooting threat too. You were a trendsetter of sorts, a 6'10" big who would launch and, importantly, make three-point shots. Can you please talk about that development in your game?
Well, someone that I really looked up to when I was in the NBA was Hakeem Olajuwon.
Okay.
He was, he was a guy who always brought different things to his game each year, and he would ask me, "What have you brought into your game this year?" He would always ask me that question. What are you doing differently this year than you did last year? So I always prided myself on being a good outside shooter, but once again, it goes back to being confident in it. Being confident in it. Taking those shots in the game and believing in those shots that you're taking. Whether it be working on a jump hook, whether it be taking a shot when you're open. My whole thought process was always bring something new to your game, and they moved the 3-point line in, and I took quite a few 3-pointers that year, and I made a lot of them, but it was an opportunity for me to really start stepping out and believing in that part of my game.
Yeah, definitely. It certainly paid off because you had some great numbers, and as you mentioned, it's also nice to hear an insight there about your relationship with Hakeem Olajuwon and how he also helped challenge your game and develop it even further.
Well, that's the part, that era right there. There was a lot of great competitors, but there were also a lot of guys who, really tried to be mentors and challenge your ability. And he was one of those guys who did that for me.
Obviously, a fantastic player, one of the NBA's greatest ever, and his dream shake was almost impossible to try and block that one.
Only 2 seconds left to shoot it. Cliff Robinson beat the clock. A three-pointer, a 35-point night. New career high for Cliff Robinson. We're tied at 98.
The next season, 1994, you were an NBA All-Star. Can you talk about that season in general and also your memories of being an All-Star?
That season was another. I mean, I had a great stretch during those years in Portland, and I like I said, I always credit it to those guys who being drafted by a team and playing with such competitors, such professional players. Clyde was a consistent All-Star. To be able to play on a team with a guy who had such a high level of respect for the game, and such a high level of competitiveness, it rubbed off on me. So each year I just tried to get better at what I did out on the floor, and '94 was a year where it all came together. It all came together, and to have the opportunity to be out there on the floor during All-Star Weekend, it let me know that I had arrived. It let me know that all the hard work that I was putting in was paying off.
Yeah, definitely. some of the teammates that you had on your 94 All-Star team, was it good to perhaps mix with those players that you were usually an opponent of during the season?
Oh, well, I mean, the Eastern Conference had Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. I mean, you can go down the line. I mean, the starting lineup in the West was Shawn Kemp, Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler. I mean, it let me know that, man, I'm out here on the biggest weekend in of the NBA season, where everybody else, in the NBA is on vacation, watching these 24 guys play. So, so for me, it was like I said, it let me know that I had arrived, and all the hard work that I was putting in, made me deserve that I should be out here.
Well and truly. Now, your last 5 seasons at Portland, you averaged 19 points and 6 rebounds a game in about 36 minutes. Fantastic and consistent numbers. Now, after those 8 seasons playing for the Blazers, you then signed as a free agent with the Suns and played on some good Phoenix teams with some really great players. Can you please talk about that move to Phoenix and how your teams there compared to your many years prior with the Blazers?
That's the one thing I don't do. I don't compare. I try not to, because, especially at that time of the Western Conference, the Western Conference was tough. The move down to Phoenix, we had some great teams. We had great teams down there.
Sure.
But we had great teams down there. We had a front court of myself, Tom Gugliotta, Luke Longley, and Jason Kidd at the point guard. We had McDyess for one. We had McDyess at one time. We had a lot of talent down there, but at the same time, the Western Conference was tough. The Spurs was tough. Sacramento was tough. LA was tough. Portland was tough. So we just ran into a situation where, if we were in the Eastern Conference, that same team, we would have been, one of the top teams in the East. But unfortunately, we were in the West, and running up against Shaq. We ran up against Shaq or David Robinson and those guys every year. It was tough. We had some good teams down there. We had some good runs, but it just wasn't meant to be because the West was extremely tough.
Now, your Suns teams were filled with some great personalities that I enjoyed following at the time, including Rex Chapman, Cedric Ceballos, KJ, Kevin Johnson, Danny Manning, Penny Hardaway, Mario Alley, and Jason Kidd. Can you maybe just talk about some of those great players that you got to experience on-court time with during your time at the Suns?
Oh, that was probably one of the best times that I've had, just from the standpoint of being coached by Danny Ainge, playing with the younger group of guys, that were, kind of my same age group. Having an opportunity to play with KJ, who killed us when I was with Portland. He was, he played at such a high level against us. Danny Manning, National Player of the Year. It was a great time for me. Actually having to play down in Phoenix and being traded from Phoenix was like one of the most disappointing days of my NBA career because the weather was great, the fan base was great. That was another city where the fans really get behind the team, and the ownership was great. Jerry Colangelo and Brian Colangelo. I always looked at those guys with such high respect because they were men of their words. If Jerry Colangelo gave you his word, it was pretty golden.
Oh, excellent to hear. It's good to have that sort of backing behind you as a player, knowing that those sort of things, whatever they do say will happen, actually does happen. When you played for the Suns and you had your former teammate, Danny Ainge, coaching you, how was that relationship then as he was your coach compared to when you were playing with him?
You know what? It was a little different because Danny's always been a jokester.
Yeah.
He's always been a jokester. So I mean, if you had an issue with how you were being played or something, Danny was very good at bringing you into the office and getting you to forget totally about what you came into the office to talk to him about.
All right.
Because he would diffuse the situation with jokes, and he would get you to totally forget what you came in there to talk to him about. But playing for him was it was good. I mean, I had a really good time playing for him. It was just some days he didn't know whether he wanted to play small ball or if he wanted to go with a traditional lineup, and that was frustrating at some times.
I can imagine. Now, in 2001, you headed east, traded to the Detroit Pistons. In your second season at Detroit, you made it to the conference finals before losing out to the New Jersey Nets. What do you remember most about your time spent in the Motor City?
That was another very good time for me. Even though I was disappointed after being traded from the Suns, after realizing that I was going to Detroit and being coached by Rick Carlisle, who I had a lot of respect for. He was an assistant up in Portland when I was there.
Yes. And
that was his first opportunity as a head coach. It kind of gave me a little more excitement about being in Detroit, and knowing the tradition that they had over there, and the fact that they were trying to get the team back in a position to be recognized as one of the better teams in the NBA. So when I went over there, seeing the players that was there, Stackhouse, Jerry Stackhouse, Ben Wallace, Chucky Atkins, Corliss Williamson, it kind of reminded me of a group of guys that everybody had written off. That they thought those guys were, they thought we were at the end of our careers and we weren't going to be able to get anything done. And, I'll also have to mention Michael Curry, who was a big part of what we did over there. But we used that as a motivational factor. We were able to play with such a chip on our shoulders. We made the game ugly. Basketball is always not going to be free-flowing, fast-breaking kind of game, and that's what we embraced. We embraced the old Detroit attitude. We tried to play a game because we weren't the best offensive team, but we played great defense, and that was something that helped put us in a position to win our division 2 years in a row, and put us in a position to establish that Detroit was back.
Yeah, now those Detroit teams of that era that you played on, the staple of the game was their defense. That's definitely the case. And obviously that team was just building up to be the championship contender for the following few seasons. Now, following your time at the Pistons, you finished your career with stints at Golden State Warriors and New Jersey Nets, playing beyond your 40th birthday. How do you rate your final seasons in the NBA?
Well, I mean, I wish I could have played. I wish I could have played more in some cases. But at the same time, in the NBA, you have to accept the role that you're given. Sometimes you're not always going to be the top scorer. Mm-hmm. You're not always going to be the guy who gets the most minutes. For me, it fell back on understanding what it took to be a professional. And being a professional means that you have to accept your role in whatever position that it may be, whether it's being the top scorer, being a guy who comes off the bench. And, when you have the opportunity to go in there, take advantage of that opportunity. And, that's what I try to embrace.
Yep, that's a great, honest answer. Now, I asked Christian Laettner a similar question when I spoke with him on an earlier episode. Given the number of older players still in the NBA, Grant Hill, Kurt Thomas, Jason Kidd, and Steve Nash, Did you ever seriously consider a comeback to the NBA following your retirement in 2007?
It's funny that you say that because I did consider a comeback, but after I started working out and working towards the comeback, it was definitely it was quickly forgotten about because once you start doing those NBA movements, you stop playing on a regular basis. Your body forgets about doing that stuff. So, and when you do it, you tend to get hurt when you're not doing it on a regular basis. So, for me, I thought about it. I thought I could do it. I probably could have done it if I really would have stuck with it, but I couldn't work through the pain.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be an enticing thought to be back in the league, but also the amount of work and possibly the pain that you'd endure afterwards, maybe not quite worth it after such a stellar career at that time anyway.
Exactly. I mean, once you're done, that's why I really give Rashid a lot of respect. He did it, after being out a season. I tried to think about doing it after being out 2 seasons.
Okay, well that's right. I forgot to even mention Rasheed Wallace. He's obviously still lacing him up with the Knicks at the moment, so very true. Now, in 2008, your former teammate, Kevin Duckworth, sadly passed away at just 44 years of age. Can you briefly talk about Duck and his influence on you and your life in general, please?
Well, Duck, he was like a big brother to me. He was actually the first guy on the Blazer team to really take me under his wing. He showed me that there was more to life than just playing basketball. He was the type of guy who always was able to do other things, whether it was fishing, whether it was hunting, whatever it might have been. He was one of those guys who had other things in his life other than basketball, and that was something that he shared with me. And over the years of my NBA career, during the off season, I was able to get away from that part of the game myself. Just try to take yourself away from the game during the summer and show that give yourself other things to do.
That's good. Thanks for sharing some of those memories there with him. I know it's sometimes a difficult thing to talk about teammates who have passed way too soon, but I do appreciate that. A few quick questions, Cliff, before we wrap things up. There's 3 things I've always wondered, and hopefully you'll be able to answer these for me. First, the headband. You were one of the first players to ever rock a headband that I can recall, apart from obviously Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Walton. When and why did this first happen?
Well, I was actually trying to do it in college, but Calhoun told me that he didn't think it was a good idea, that he didn't want to take me to separate myself from the team, so I didn't do it at UConn. But it was something that I thought about for quite some time, and when I was able to play with the Blazers, I asked the trainer. I said, "Can you get me some headbands?" And he kind of thought it was funny, but I was serious. I asked him to give me some headbands, and he finally did it. I think it was January 17th, and I think it was 92. I want to say it was 92. We were playing in New Jersey. He had some headbands, and I went out and I had the headband on. The fans gave me such a hard time, and that's when I knew the headband was here to stay.
I like that. That's a great answer. And I love how you know the particular date as well when you first got the headband going. That's cool. Now, secondly, in the NBA, your jersey number was either 3 or 30 for your whole career. Can you please explain the significance of the number 3?
I signed my first NBA contract on August 3rd.
Uh-huh.
So I went with the number 3, and then when I went when I went to play with other teams, and when I went to play with the Suns, I think Rex Chapman had the number 3, so I went with 30, which to me was still 3 because it was just inverted.
Gotcha. That's good. I like to know some of these little backstories, and they're quite interesting, I find. Now, last but not least, Uncle Cliffy. Do you mind explaining the origins of your nickname? I've read a couple of different stories online, but I'd just love to hear from you. How did it come about?
Well, it basically started. We beat Utah in the Western Conference Finals. I think it was. I want to say it was. I think it was the year. I think it was '92. We beat Utah in Utah for the Western Conference Finals, and I just started dancing and having a good time. The reporters asked me, "Oh, what do you call that?" And I just said, "Oh, this is the Uncle Cliffy," and it just kind of stuck ever since then.
Fantastic! It's good to hear the origins of such a great nickname. Now, Cliff, just before we do finish things, can you please tell listeners about your recently established non-profit organisation, which you've called the Robinson Network? Makes sense. So can you just perhaps tell us a little bit about that, please?
Well, it's basically our foundation works with other athletes, celebrities across the board to try to partner up with their foundation to try to work toward putting together events to bring together a bigger pot, where each foundation can take home a nice chunk of money to put towards their initiatives. It's always nice to work with different groups and partner up with different groups, and that's basically what we try to do. Our mission is to work with underprivileged kids, and when you partner up with different foundations and everybody use their networking ability, it always gives you an ability to bring together a bigger pot, and therefore you're able to reach more people and help more people with what you're trying to do with your foundation.
Well, it's fantastic to hear about, and you're doing some great things, so wish you all the best with that endeavour going forwards. Now, just finally, people can keep in touch with you and follow you on Twitter. Your Twitter handle is @UncleCliffy30.
At UncleCliffy30.
Yep. Do you enjoy the interaction that you have with fans and being able to have such a close back and forth with people, either players you play against or just fans in general?
Well, it's always, I think, this is one part of the social networking aspect is something that we didn't have as players, but we're still, we're still in contact. You can still be in contact with your fans, whether you're a current player or a retired player. And I just try to put myself in a position, connect with the fans, and this is a great way to do it. Very true, and if it weren't for Twitter, this conversation wouldn't even be happening, so I do appreciate you taking the time to reach out and chat. I appreciate you reaching out to me, Adam. Now, Cliff, it's been a real pleasure chatting with you today. Thanks so much for your time, and I wish you all the best going forwards. Thank you, mate. And I wish I could get over to Australia and we can hang out one of these times. I'd love that. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show, and share my web address with your friends and colleagues, inallairness.com. Check out the podcast archive for plenty more episodes with high-profile guests. Follow me on Twitter @inallairness. Please visit the show's social hub, facebook.com/inallairness. Join me next time for another edition of the show.